If you're trying to pass NASM, you're gonna wanna watch this video. We've helped over 5,200 people pass this. It's a super easy certification to get through if you follow the right instructions. Get the book, How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. Volume 2 has an entire chapter, chapter 12, that's gonna help guide you to save you stress, anxiety, and then you get $200 in free resources if you leave a 5-star review. If you want to become successful, it's all about showing up. Howdy, y'all. It's favorite trainer with a belt buckle, helping you pass NASM as quickly as you can because you can't get a refund. The National Academy of Spectacular Marketing, they got you into some big bundle, but that is okay. We've helped over 5,200 people pass this. If you decide to listen, don't read the textbook for months on out because you need guided experience. I've done numerous podcasts talking to fitness professionals who've been in the industry for decades. You need hands-on learning. Those don't make it, do not have that hands-on learning. Seminars, internships, mentorships, all things that we offer. You probably came across our certification a little too late, but don't worry, we have numerous options to help you pass this as quickly as you can. Beginning right here, what is this exercise? So this is a cable rotation. See, we're helping people pass every single day. What is that ending leg position called? That's going to be triple extension. The hip is extending, which the glutes are the main extender. The knee is extending, which the quads would be the main extender. And if you look at this position on the back foot, not that big muscle right there, but this back foot, you're going to see that I am plantar flexed. The definition of flexion is to decrease the angle. My ankle has increased the angle. That's why it's called plantar flexion. Front side mechanics are classified with hip flexion, which would be your psoas major, and your flexors, your rectus femoris, and so forth. At the knee, it is flexing, which would be your hamstrings. And then you have dorsiflexion, which would be your anterior tibialis. You need to know which muscles are overactive and underactive. Remember, if we don't foam roll and stretch, you will die. So make sure to understand overactive is the same thing as shortened, which is the same thing as strong in this and tight in this situation. And the opposite is underactive, which is lengthened and weak. We always want to strengthen the weak ones. So in the case of front side mechanics with dorsiflexion, the anterior tibialis is going to be underactive. We're going to strengthen that with a 4-2-1-1 tempo. The 4 means eccentric, the 2 is isometric, and then the 1 is going to be concentric, and that last one would also be isometric. My big, beautiful calf muscle right here is the gastrocnemius. That will be the antagonist to dorsiflexion, and that muscle will be overactive. Inferior and deep to the gastrocnemius will be the soleus. Together, they go into the calcaneus via the Achilles tendon. Remember, a tendon connects muscle to bone, or a ligament connects bone to bone. Both of these muscles would be overactive. You would see that during the overhead squat if your feet were to externally rotate or your toes point out, and or when you're doing and you see knee valgus, pes planus, we like to call it, which would be your adductors would be overactive, as well as the gastrocnemius, because it is biarticulate. Biarticulate means it crosses 2 joints. It crosses the knee joint. That's why it works with knee flexion, as well as the ankle joint, and that's why it works with plantar flexion. The next example here, I'm jumping. I'm going to be doing 10 repetitions. Notice how I bring my arms back and I throw them up in the air. We're not flailing through the air like Tinkerbell. This is the proper way to jump as a strength coach. This is how you teach your athletes. And then I'm going immediately into an RDL. RDL is going to be posterior chain. At the hips, the agonist would be your glutes and your hamstrings and your erector spinae. I'm doing 5 repetitions right here. So where would this go in the OPT model? This would go in phase 5. The only other phase of the OPT model that has supersets, same muscle group back to back, would be phase 2. Athletes would be more in phase 5. General pop, as they've been training with you for at least a month and you've graduated from stabilization, you go into phase 2, where you would do an exercise like an RDL, but then you do a step up to a hold, or you would do a pull up into a TRX row for phase 2. This is phase 5, where you're going to do something explosive, 1 to 10 reps, 10% of body weight if you're using a med ball, 30 to 45% of intensity. That's the power aspect. And then you would go into a strength exercise. a deadlift, a bench press, a pull-up, whatever, 1 to 5 repetitions, 85 to 100% of intensity. You'll be resting 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll be doing more sets because you're definitely more conditioned. You can bounce from phase 1 into any of the strength phases. So you could go from 1 to 2 to 5, 1 to 3 to 5, 1 to 4 to 5. You cannot go from 1 to 5. So you'd go to that strength phase, whichever phase you like, for a minimum of 1 month, and then you'd graduate into phase 5. And this technique, or this technical term for this pairing, would be called post-activation potentiation, PAP. They're not going to quiz you on that. This would go, as I said, in phase 5, the OPT model. The first one would go into phase 2, 3, and 4, the strength portion, because my spine is moving. Now, this last exercise that I'm going to be doing is a single leg scaption. Where would this go in the OPT model? This would go into phase 1 because I'm balancing on one foot, and I'm going to be going through the transverse plane of motion. We need to remember the definition of the planes of motion. When it's flexion and extension, so if my arm was coming straight in front of me or behind my body, that would be sagittal. If I were to be AB or adducting, that would be in the frontal plane. And then the textbook definition of transverse is an imaginary line bisecting the body into superior, which is above, and inferior halves, allowing for rotation. If we're in a clock and you're looking at my humerus, 12 o'clock would be flexion, 6 o'clock would be extension. That would be sagittal. 3 o'clock to my right, 9 o'clock to my left would be abduction, adduction, and the frontal plane. Any other time on the clock, it's going to be transverse. So technically speaking, I would be in the transverse plane on this. I'm giggling a little bit because our students here in Santa Monica, also in Atlanta, in-person 2-month internship, where you actually learn how to become a trainer. We are the only certification in the world that can say we have an exclusive partnership with Lifetime where you're guaranteed an interview. The roadmap for the average textbook trainer, you get that piece of paper, you take a cool little photo, and then you have to go work at a lower end gym, like an LA Fitness, an Orange Theory. You do that for a couple of years, and then you apply to the high end ones because they want competence, confidence, they want experience. That's why they partner with the SUF CPT, because we produce the best trainers in the industry. We've had the #1 trainer at Crunch, #1 trainer at Lifetime, top 10 at Equinox. Our trainers go into these environments, the best gyms in the world, and they become top performers. And then they move into management or they start their own business and become very, very successful. If you want to level up your career, you need to be able to ask questions to fitness professionals. I've owned gyms. We've had gyms get through COVID. I've been a teacher of trainers for over 10 years, personal trainer for 20 plus. The industry needs more qualified trainers. Looking at this exercise, which will go into phase 1, you're going to be doing a 4-2-1-1 tempo, 12 to 20 repetitions, 0 to 90 seconds rest, and the intensity would be 50 to 70%. You have to master the OPT acute variables. I've done numerous podcasts. If you want our NASM cheat sheet, that sucker is a great beginning foundation for you. Leave a 5-star review for the podcast. We'll send it to you for free. If you really want to level up, you get my book, Chapter 12. It's going to clear out all of those doubts, or as what we say at Show Up, ants, automatic negative thoughts. If you don't have your date set for your exam, you're going to delay as long as possible. Do not make that mistake. You need to set a date within 30 days, study, go through the study guide, go through the quizzes that we provide. We have over $200 of free resources that have helped over 5,200 people pass this. Once you pass it, get into our program and you will become successful. I guarantee it, because we actually teach you the skills that these textbooks lack, the people skills, the business skills, how to assess, how to close at a higher rate when you're charging $100 plus per hour. Do you want to make $100,000+ per year? Because you absolutely can if you're a qualified trainer. If you like today's video, comment other videos you'd like to see or better explained. We will make those for you very quickly. Check out the podcast, grab the book, and remember, big biceps are better than small ones, and keep showing up. Belt buckle trainer out.